Hello, my name is Diane, and today I want to talk about all the books I'm hopefully going to read in April. I tried to keep this TBR a little bit smaller than I normally do this month. Not that I don't have a lot of books I'm hopefully going to read this month, but I did pick 6 of the main ones that I want to prioritize. I do have a lot of other reading plans outside of this list that I am hoping to get through. I have a full series I'm trying to read this month, a few other fun ideas, but these are the main ones that I really want to focus on, that I really want to get through the most. Starting with some series that I want to continue or finish. I want to read A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. This is the 5th book and currently the final book that has come out in A Song of Ice and Fire. I read A Feast for Crows last month, and it really left me wanting the other half of what's happening in this story because the books do take place simultaneously. I'm really excited to see what the other half of our very large cast of characters are up to and get caught up on this series, and then I can patiently wait for book 6 with everybody else. I am very much looking forward to this one, although it is a very large book. I'm having a lot of fun with this series. I also would like to read The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. This is the final book in the First Law trilogy. I am liking this series. I'm not super hooked on it. I don't finish each book of this series thinking like I really need to know what happens next. But I do think it's well written. I think it's very readable and it is a fun story. I am looking forward to seeing what happens next and wrapping up this story. His stories seem to build up to something very big and complex in the final book from what I've seen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this group of characters. There was a lot of action in Before They Are Hanged, so I'm expecting even more of that in the final book as things really come to a close. Then another big book, another unfinished series. I want to finish reading The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I read about 200 pages of this. I don't even know when, and it's just kind of been sitting on the bottom of my TBR ever since. I just set it down because it didn't make sense to me at the time to prioritize it, but I would like to finally finish it. I do own a copy of it, so it's just sitting on my shelf with a bookmark in it, waiting for me to pick it back up. And hopefully this month I'll get through it. Each of these 3 series books are very large books, so they are going to take a bit of time to get through. Hopefully I can make time for all of them this month. Then for some standalones, I'd like to read Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. This book came out in January of this year, so this is a newer book. It is also much shorter than all of the other books on this list, which is kind of nice. But it's also a little bit outside of the genres I typically read. It sounds like it's going to be, I think it's categorized as horror. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty thrilling story, which I think will be a lot of fun to break up. A lot of these are similar types of stories, so I think it'll be nice to have something a little bit different thrown into the mix. This book sounded really intriguing when it was coming out, when I was anticipating its release. So I'm excited to finally get around to it and see what happens in this story. It's about a young girl who starts having very weird dreams that are slipping into her reality, and she goes back to her family to hopefully figure out where all of this is coming from. She's also lost her sister, which is somehow linked to the things going on. She's trying to figure out how everything fits together. I also want to read Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. This is sort of a Baba Yaga retelling, which I've been in the mood for some newer fairy tale stories, some folklore-inspired stories. I think those types of stories are very appealing in the winter. I know it's not winter here anymore, but it still kind of feels like it where I live. But I've never read too many Baba Yaga stories. I don't know too much specifically about that folklore, but I am very interested in that. I think the folklore from that region is very interesting, and I would like to read more stories inspired by it. So I'm looking forward to this one. Also going along with the fairy tale inspired stories, I'd like to read the Book of Gothel by Mary McMine. This is the story of Mother Gothel, who is the mother in the Rapunzel story, kind of a backstory for her when she's younger, before she becomes the evil character that we know her as. I think these stories are really interesting, these types of stories of taking a villain from sort of a fairy tale and giving them a little backstory of maybe how they came to be who they came to be. It doesn't really work with all villains. Some bad people are just bad people and we don't need to know why they got that way. But I am looking forward to this one. It sounds like it'll be a really interesting story. And it'll also add to that fairy tale inspired stories that I'm looking for right now. These are the 6 books that I'm hoping to prioritize this month. Hopefully I'll get through them all. I do have some nonfiction. I have a lot of nonfiction on my shelves that I haven't read, and I keep trying to prioritize it and just pushing them aside in favor of fiction. Hopefully this will be the month I start adding those into my reading. And I also have quite a few novellas and short stories that I'm hoping to also squeeze in this month. I'm sure I'll pick up a ton of other things that aren't on this list, which is why I tried to keep it kind of small. I tend to try to read a longer TBR and also fit in a bunch of mood reads as I go. So this month I took it down a little bit to hopefully help myself out, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you're looking forward to reading this month, if you have anything you're really excited about. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.